So, a couple of months ago, I made a video in which I said how I was going to skip the movie The Marvels because of Disney's decline in quality when it comes to their movies, and the plot of this one specifically did not catch my attention. You'll be surprised to know that I actually watched it with my brother, who is a Marvel fan just like me, and we went with the lowest possible expectations. I'm talking about expecting the movie to be a -10 or even -100 in quality. We went with very poor will and did it because it had been a while since we went to the cinema together. Anyway, we ended up going expecting to see the worst possible movie ever made by any human, especially with the early reviews of critics and Rotten Tomatoes, and what do you know? It's not that bad. I mean, hear me out for a second. I'm not saying by any means it's good. What I'm saying is that the bar was so low in movie and show quality that I was expecting an abomination of a movie, and somehow that made me somehow tolerate it in a way. Believe me, I'm not a contrarian who just wants to go against the flow for the sake of it, because I'll admit when movies are bad, but for Marvel standards, this was not the worst product they've ever made. I mean, if you want me to say which are the worst movies ever made from Marvel, those would be Daredevil and X-Men Dark Phoenix. But when it comes to the MCU, in my opinion, nothing gets worse than Eternals. Yeah, I'll say it. I think that despite their flaws, Ant-Man, Quantumania and Thor Love and Thunder are entertaining despite the cringe they produce. And given the fact that Eternals is below Thor Dark World, which is the most forgettable movie of the entire MCU, I gotta say that this movie ended up being reasonable passable at best. Like, imagine this. It's more entertaining than the first movie of Captain Marvel. That's saying a lot. I don't know if it's because of Brie Larson's shitty attitude, but in this movie, you somehow forget how dislikable she is in real life. Like, she's actually a somehow likable character here. And I don't want to bash her just because it's popular to do so, even though she has proven to be a dislikable person, to be honest. But she's honestly a really good actress. I've seen her versatility for the first time in Scott Pilgrim, and I liked her there. Here, she sort of resembles what Captain Marvel should be, with moments where it leaves you like, oh, that was cute, in a non-condescending way, you know? Now, with that said, back to the plot of the movie. It's very basic and over the place sometimes. It feels like there were good ideas here and there, but the execution was poorly made. The villain wants to destroy other planets and civilizations to reconstruct her own planet. She tries to steal the atmosphere, ocean, and sun from other systems to revive her own. She specifically chooses planets that are somehow connected to Carol Danvers because she's the one responsible for destroying the home planet of the Krees. Now, where do Kamala and Monica come into play? It goes like this. Monica works for Saber, which is basically the SHIELD organization but in space. And Kamala has the second bracelet that the villain needs to create these portals to transfer the resources from other planets. However, this bracelet forces the three of them, who are connected to these portals created by the villain, to switch places constantly. Hence, none of them can live a normal life until the issue gets solved. And I gotta say, despite having a few weird special effects here and there, there's some good fights in this movie, dude. Like, there were some fighting sequences that made me have a headache trying to figure out how the hell was it even coordinated. There's a lot of effort put into it. The dialogues are, well, leave a lot to be desired. Like, there are moments in which there was no need for comedy and they sort of forced it, like Marvel usually does. Also, the movie has a lot of cringe moments that try to remedy it by letting the spectators know that it is indeed cringe and that the characters are suffering it. Just because you're aware of it doesn't make it any better. Like, the planet that's being robbed of their oceans has a civilization who can only communicate through singing, like a literal High School Musical moment. And it's cringe, but every character is aware of this, and they cringe at every single moment. You might find it a bit funny or insufferable. For me, it sort of feels out of place, especially when the stakes are too high at that point in that movie. And since we're talking about cringe, let's talk about Kamala. She is cringe from beginning to end, but you know what? She is supposed to be cringe and awkward, And if there's a great thing I can say is that she's far more likable than she was in her own TV show. Like, I do not hate the show per se, but I did find it underwhelming. Here, even though she's a bit annoying, that's what her character is supposed to be like, and the actress steals the show. I'll put an example here of a terrible game. I've been playing the Avengers game, yeah, that one, and it's terrible. But the story? Man, the story is actually really well done. Especially considering that MODOK looks like this and not like this. And Kamala plays a very important role in this game. And you know what? She sort of grows into you because she's a child who is a big fan of the Avengers and she's supposed to be over the top. I still prefer the version of the game because of the complexity in the story, but I gotta give kudos to Iman Belani for nailing her role. Yeah, I'm serious. As a feedback, I would have preferred if she toned it down a bit more, but the essence of her character is really well achieved. Finally, we get Monica Rambeau, which was sort of well written here and there with her backstory and motivations, but her character is broken too. She's basically Captain Marvel too. Take away the shooting laser stuff, but she can also fly, go through walls and absorb energy. The hero as a concept feels a bit odd to me, but the character was interesting but not well developed. But now, the villain. I'm sorry, but the acting of the villain was terrible. Like, she seemed fake and forced. I'd like to believe that this was not an acting issue, but a directing issue for Saul Ashton. But I seriously felt like she was not imposing or genuine at all. The character is well written at times, but you don't really connect with her enough to actually care. Like, you see the backstory and everything, but the execution was poor. Very poor. Nick Fury comes up as awkward and a factory of unnecessary punchlines every single time. Like, if you were expecting to see the same Nick Fury in previous Marvel movies, you will not see him here. Now, I know that a lot of people who have seen the movie will hate me for this, but there was one scene that actually made me laugh and I personally enjoyed it for how ridiculous it is. I'll make a brief summary here. The Saber spaceship is about to fall and they only have a limited amount of escape pods. Meanwhile, the monster cat, Fury, has just laid eggs. Yeah, because it's actually an alien, and many kittens sprout through the ship. Since they can only carry so many people in the pods, they have the idea of these kittens eating everyone in the ship only to spit them out once they land on Earth. Yeah, it's stupid and weird, but it was funnier than I thought it was gonna be, because you can see everyone running away terrified of the kittens as these unleash tentacles from their mouths and then are shoved into a pod and then launched into space. All the while the song from the musical Cats plays in the background. It was bizarre, but it left me with a genuine smile of absurdity. I did not want to enjoy it, but I ended up doing so. Anyway, the last act ends up in a battle with this villain who manages to get both bracelets, and since she could not control the power of this, she activates it and disintegrates, opening up a portal to another dimension. Write this down, this is important. The only one who can close it is Monica, but she ends up staying on the other side of the portal, sacrificing herself to make sure that these two realities do not collide. Movie ends, Captain Marvel and Kamala become friends and the credits roll. And the after credits scene? Well, we see Monica in a bed from a hospital and next to her is her mother. In case you didn't know, her mother died during the snap from Thanos. But this is a version of her mother from another dimension. And who is the doctor who treats them? You sure you want to know? If you don't want spoilers, you can close this video now. You still have time. You sure you want to know? Okay, I'll let you know. It's Beast from the X-Men. Yes, Hank McCoy from the X-Men appears in the MCU, opening a door for the X-Men. This one was mind-blowing because it isn't just the Beast from the movies we've seen with Hugh Jackman. He actually looks redesigned to look like the 90s animated series, and my god did I get goosebumps. I just hope we don't see them ruined. So, in conclusion, I'm not saying this movie was great or an absolute masterpiece, because after watching Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and the second season of Loki, this is below average to be honest. But, considering that I was expecting this to be the worst of the worst, a huge pain in the eyes and brain for years to come, I did not hate it as much as other people did. Would I recommend you to watch it? No way. Just wait until it is released on Disney Plus, and if you're bored one day, then watch it. Otherwise, you can sleep on it. Anyway, that's my opinion and review of this movie. This has been Juano, and thank you for watching.